Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is July 30th, 2018. That's right, we are through July effectively. Next month, we're going to start debating about fall and snow and where the time of the year has gone, because we're obviously well more than halfway through 2018 at this point. And again, I said the other day, what do we have to show for it exactly? So we have some announcements here. We have Aoshima's October releases to talk about, and there's actually something in there that's a little interesting, I think, to people who've been wondering where their supercar kit series was going to be going, since it's been very, very silent for the last about 2 years now. Also, a couple of announcements from BMAX as far as pre-orders, and then we have a bunch of kit teases to talk about. Bell Kits and BMAX sort of traded rally car shots over the course of the week in terms of future projects. And so that's some interesting things there. They're starting to get into those not necessarily obscure rally projects, but some of the rally projects I think a lot of people never really thought you'd see a kit of necessarily. And of course, they're going to be kits of them, so it's very exciting. BMAXs is certainly a dual purpose where they could, if they choose to do so, turn it into a touring car as well, which is sort of a rarity. We've seen this with a couple of projects. The M3, obviously, it will be the first example, and the Mitsubishi Starion that we talked about back at the Shizuoka Hobby Show, which was shown along with the Mitsubishi Lancer, like 1970s Lancer rally car. The Starion can obviously be a Group A touring car and can also be a Group A rally car. So it's very interesting to see them choose their projects for to see if you can sort of scope, if you will, but you can sort of see where they're going to go with projects in the future. Sometimes it's going to be 2 rally releases or 3 rally releases, like it has been with the 80 Celica with it's a late 80s Celica. I'm trying to think what the designation is. ST165 on the early 1980s Celica on the 280 RS Nissan, where those are obviously going to be rally releases, and there's been like gravel kits and tarmac kits and things like that. But some of these other kits, you can sort of look at them and see, well, maybe there's a touring car stuck up in there, and you'll see what I'll talk about here in a second. I think that's pretty much that. I did want to mention we've actually modeled a little bit. This is the chassis plate to the BMAX Toyota Corona JTCC car. I don't know if I've mentioned it necessarily on the channel anywhere, but we're building this as the Duracell sponsored Ghia Race of Macau car. Unfortunately, I just really haven't had the time to work on this that I really wanted to have. Work got incredibly crazy last week with the whole Amazon Prime day. That basically really screwed up the systems for all of the major shipping places for the duration of the week, which was great for me because I got way more hours than I normally would. And that look was made for a nice paycheck last Friday. But it really, completely and totally kiboshed any ability to do much of anything model-wise because it was very much a work, 10 hours of off time, work, 10 hours of off time kind of thing. So we finally got this done. This represents pretty much like step 1 of that of the build. I have way too much time in detail painting certain parts on this, particularly the engine area up here. Pretty much everything north of this kink of the exhaust right here is molded in. So the engine's molded obviously into the chassis plate itself, because you can see just sort of half of the bottom of the engine. And then that front piece of pipe is molded in as well. And then the back half, and then these torsion arms and the uprights for the rear suspension are obviously separate pieces. What's going to end up happening with this engine is, oh yes, it looks very nice, and it was an acre of tape and whatnot, is the fact that when you build up the front suspension, you have this piece here, which is pretty much the upper A, or will be the lower A arms. That's going to cover up that part of the engine, and then there's another piece that covers up this part up here that has the air ducts for the front brake coolers and things like that. So it's definitely one of those, wow, that looks cool, that looks great, and you'll never see it again. I mean, aside from the fact that we don't display our models upside down in the first place, that one's going to get covered up by a lot of stuff, and you always sort of wonder at the time, after you've completed that, and you start, as a test fitting the next sets of pieces, you're like, oh, wow, that was a lot of time I spent on something that shan't ever be seen again. It's a lot, not quite as bad as, say, the BMW i8, the Revell of Germany kit, where you build two engines, the electric motor as well as the gas-propelled motor, as you will, gas propulsion motor. And then everything disappears because there literally is no way to see the engine in that kit, but it's certainly, like I said, I have quite a bit of time and taping involved there that I'll, shan't ever be seen again. But, hey, I know it's there. I know it's there. And then we have the kit releases for this week as well. Really not that much. The end of July kits are quite literally being the end of July kits. So we'll see what comes in today on Monday overseas, and then tomorrow. And then we have a good danger of everything running into August, which isn't necessarily a huge surprise. But there is the new tool, the Colt Galant, has not come out yet, and several of the model car releases from Aoshima have not come out as of yet, along with their new tool, Ford R34. So some things may trail off into August. Not the worst thing ever, but it'll be the first time that a significant number of things have been late at once. So we'll see. So September, BMAX pre-order for the 1991 Japanese Touring Car Championship Idemitsu Motion Honda Civic EF9 kit we talked about actually the week after the Shizuoka show, because at the Shizuoka show I wasn't necessarily sure what I was seeing, so I wanted to make sure that I was seeing what I thought I saw, and we talked about it the week after, where the EF3 Civic, which there have been two kits of, one was the PIA and the other one was the Modal sponsored one, where those kits got released with a Modal being a 2-in-1 with the two different sets of decals. The EF9 Civic basically runs the exact same body and chassis and things like that, but it has a different front and back end. So this is the kit will have new bumper, new hood, new glass as far as the headlights go, a new rear bumper, a new exhaust, and several other little bits and pieces here and there, a rear spoiler for the roof, to update it to the 1991 spec. So you'll be able to build the kit as an 88, an 89, or a 91. I'm pretty sure 90 is possible there if somebody would make some specific 1990 livery decals. And there's also going to be a specific photo etch kit, set for this kit, is what I'm trying to say. Because obviously with a new bumper, the grill openings are different and things like that. And I also believe that the wheels in this might be slightly different in the sense that there'll be two sets of one set of wheels. The Civic kit originally had two different sets of wheels, one for the front and one for the back. The back were lightweight wheels because the back obviously are not drive wheels in a Civic. The Idemitsu Motion car runs all four same wheels all around, so they're going to have to include another two of the one set of wheels in order to make that happen. So the Idemitsu Motion car is the red car with the white stripes, the number 100. There's been liveries for that in the older EF3 Civic as well as the EG6 Hasegawa Civic. So the livery and the car well known. And then over in Aoshima for October, some releases into the model car line, reissue of the 1997 Toyota Aristo Vertex Edition. That's I know Vertex Ridge. Vertex sounds like a tuned model car line, but the Vertex Edition is just a little bit of ground effects and a different set of wheels from a stock Toyota Aristo. But other than that, it's a street car, factory stock car. So that'll be the first time that specific car and configuration have been out in probably since 1997. It may have gotten a release in the 2000s somewhere along the way, but that's certainly a really long ago and far away release. They're going to reissue the 1996 Mitsubishi Delica Space Gear, so the Delicious Space Gear, which is different from the Delicious Space Wagon. The Space Wagon is the big boxy one from the early 1990s. The Space Gear very much is a great big egg on wheels, but it is much like the Space Gear. The Space Gear, like the Space Wagon, is a sort of four-wheel drive off-road van where it has big, not big, but chunky, like, off-road tires. It's a four-wheel drive van. This kit was last released in 2008. It's had a couple of reissues here and there, but it was last in the Best Car line. I saw this come up and like, wasn't this just reissued not that long ago? That was a while ago that got reissued. So, yikes. Certainly makes you feel like, you're not accomplishing much when you think the kit you bought not that long ago, is being reissued when it's been a while, and you're just really slow at building. They're also going to reissue the 1995 Nissan Cedric, Nissan Gloria, Y33, Gran Turismo Ultima. This is another set of kits where I've spent quite a bit of time and effort tracking them down on Yahoo Japan auctions because they have not been reissued in 20 years. And now, of course, that I have them, I probably spent less than the kits are going to, or right around what the kits are going to cost reissued. They're going to reissue them. So, the Cedric and Gloria Y33s, same car, different grille, different taillights, slightly different trim pieces. So both, it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to get only one body. They're not two different body styles, but one body, and you'll pick the trim pieces that you need to make either a Gloria or a Cedric, depending on which one you want. Again, long time ago, far away as far as when that was reissued last. They're going to reissue 2 more kits out of the More Grand Champions line. The first 2 of those will come out in September. So this will be the first, basically 4 of the 16 kits that come in this series, and that will be a Nissan Cedric 330, so very early 1980s, late 1970s Cedric, and a Nissan Skyline 2-door, which is the 1980s C210 Skyline. So if you're trying to get those kits, trying to collect them, there's 2 more that are very, very easy. The More Grand Champion kits were slightly easier to find than the Grand Champion. They've been reissued more recently than the last ones, but it's still been quite a while. And then the last thing coming out in October is the modified reissue of the Pagani Huayra. It's like I said, been a while since we've gotten a new supercar kit out of Aoshima. We got the Pagani and we got the Diablo GTR, the Racing Edition, which disappointingly, 18 months later, not a single person has made a single set of livery for, and the Donut King sponsored one from the Australian touring car was pretty well known. Now, the Diablo GTR ran a single make, mostly Italian racing series, so I can see why there wasn't a big rush to put out decals for it, but the Donut King one was a championship-winning car as far as that year, so it's kind of surprising no one ever did that. I'm sure that, like, Pato's Place or somebody like that in Australia has made decals for it, but no major manufacturer has. And yeah, I said, it's just kind of, I didn't expect a lot of support for that kit, but I expected, like, a set or 2 to come out. But this Pagani Huayra is going to come out as the Pancetta Tempesto aerodynamic package, literally the gods of the winds. And this is going to have a new front bumper, a new rear diffuser. Should have a completely different chassis pan itself, because the entire chassis, the entire bottom cover of the car, if you will, since it's like in these modern supercars there isn't really a chassis. It's just flat with various ducts and splitters and things like that. The entire thing should be different. I don't know if they really did that or not, but in the real car, the entire chassis undersystem of the chassis is completely different. Also, a completely different set of shocks that were specifically designed for this car and the ground force that it develops. This was a $160,000 option on a Pagani to get this ground effects package. It also comes with a completely new set of wheels. So I don't know if it's necessarily just basically 3 new parts, wheels, front and back bumper, or there will be more than that in it to sort of really make it conform to what the Tempesto package really was. But got to get another Huayra. That was a given in the sense that there were parts in the original kit that you didn't use. I still think there's probably more than just this one aerodynamic package included, unless some of the parts that are on there are specific to this Tempesto package, because there's a good 18 pieces or so to the Huayra kit itself that you don't actually use in the building of that kit straight out of the box. So May not be what everybody would like as far as the supercar line goes. There's obviously further Aventadors and Hurricanes and things like that that, you know, need to be done, but we're at least going to get more use out of the Pagani tooling, so maybe that won't be a complete disaster after all. And then BMAX has announced for October pre-order the Audi Quattro S1E2 Group B rally car. So I know a lot of people were waiting on that. A lot of people were also waiting, of course, on the Lancia Delta S4. The Delta S4, I think, probably still will come out this year. Very, 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 very end of this year, or maybe the beginning of next year. But remember, the Delta is a great deal more complicated than any kit that BMAX has done up to this point, other than perhaps the 1/20 scale F1 cars, where, you know, the Delta is running on a space frame, the front is separate, the back is separate, the cockpit is separate, you know, it has a full detail engine and everything like that. The Quattro is a curbside with a, you know, separate, much like this, where, you know, everything's sort of molded into the chassis pan kind of deal. And there's also going to be a photo etch set for that. Obviously, that's a given for BMAX. Everything comes with a photo etch set. Spot Model has announced the, you know, is saying soon, which means that it's coming, but you can't pre-order it. The rally version of the Starion and the Lancer rally car, they're saying like December 31st. I don't necessarily know that those kits will come out this year per se. Maybe the Lancer will, because the Lancer certainly seems to be a little further along. But Delta for sure. I want to say is as close to positive as I can. Because remember, when we saw it in Shizuoka, it was in, you know, production form. It was not just like CAD drawings. It had parts, right? It had runners. So obviously a lot of test shots and revisions and things like that will go into making sure the kit builds. They don't want an unbuildable multi-piece kit, because what are they going to do with it? There's only so many things that the Lancia Delta S4 can be. It was only ever sponsored by Martini. And, you know, other than offering maybe a gravel car, a rally-specific car, and a tarmac-specific rally car, there's not a lot of play there. It's not like the, you know, these other rally cars where, you know, the Nissan 280 RS, or 240 RS, 280 RS? I think it's a 280, right? I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Yeah, 240 RS. You know, it has the Nissan livery, and then there's a couple of different ways the car was run after that, and then there's the Marlboro livery that was done for it. Rege has done a livery for it. You know, there's 5 or 6 different ways you can build that kit. You know, as far as additional livery goes. Same thing with the older early 1980s Celica. They released a gravel car and a rally car, or a gravel kit and a tarmac kit, but there's decals to do 6 or 7 other versions of it, and there's just a plethora of the ST165 80s Celicas that were, there's probably close to 8 or 10 liveries for that kit that are floating around. So the Delta S4, it's one thing. So you want to make sure that kit is a good build, because there's nothing else to do with it. If people get it and it stinks on ice to put together, it'll be very, very hard to sell a gravel version of it or a tarmac version of it, because it'll be like, oh, well, it's slightly different livery, you know, different placards for the rally, different plates and things like that, and then it's the same miserable kit in the box. It's because that's one of the things the Pagani Huayra sort of has going against it. It's not the greatest kit in the world in terms of fit. You know, you're kind of sort of limited with it, depending on how much effort you want to put into it, of just gluing everything closed, or displaying it in like exploded version where everything is open. I really don't have that big of an issue with displaying everything open, because there's so much in that kit that was done to make it display fully open. I really haven't bothered with my Pagani, in the sense, not because I'm afraid of the build, but just because there's a lot of carbon fiber in that kit. Some of it is not carbon fiber that will be easily reproduced with the existing decals that are available from any company out there. And I really was hoping Studio 27 or somebody would take a crack at making a, Scale Motorsports, somebody would take a crack at making a decal set for it. And as of yet, nobody has. Maybe with a second one, I don't know. But that's been my big stumbling block with that. Also, why I haven't ordered the Alpha models, which is a little subdivision of Hobby Design, where they did a Bugatti Veyron Vision GT and a Bugatti Chiron, because those cars are way carbon fiber, and it's just. I know a lot of people will just be like, "Well, cut your mask, make your own," and I could, but I look at the things I have to build, and it's like, oh, I sit down and make an entire carbon template for an entire car. No, I don't have time for that. So maybe someday, but not right now. And I think that pretty much covers the actual physical news as far as that goes. Like I said, we have a bunch of teaser stuff to show you here. So first up from BMAX, we have the CAD drawings of the Lancer, the 1980s or 1970s Lancer. So these are just, basically what the kit directions will be drawn from, kind of thing. Just showing you sort of the front and the back of the car. You get sort of a gist of pieces. Things are colored certain ways because they'll go on certain parts trees. It's giving you sort of an idea of, what the suspension's going to look like, what the chassis is going to look like. Be another curbside kit. You can see here, looking at this curbside kit, that when the chassis plate there's a huge skid plate for the bottom. So this is going to be a gravel car first. That the engine disappears mostly underneath of that. So, when you take into account painting this one up, you can take into account whether or not you're going to do that much. And then there's one showing you the interior itself. So, BMAX kits are pretty well detailed curbsides. They're, they hang right in there with any other, kit of that type, if you will. They're not a Tamiya kit by any stretch of the imagination, but they build well so far, at least for this Corona and things like that. And I really haven't heard anybody really complain about any of the other rally kits in terms of their buildability, or buildability. But what I'm saying, I haven't really had anybody complain about them. So it's something to think about if you're into that sort of rally thing. And then we'll, I know this is like going back and forth, but I just have to do it sort of in the way it was done so you guys can appreciate it. So then Belkits dropped this flyer on their Facebook page. Now, up the top there, you see the Citroen C3 2018 WRC kit. Now, we knew about that. We've teased that back, a month and a half, 2 months ago when that kit was announced. But you see here, the 20 and 19, that's going to be a tool, and there's going to be 2 kits for it. And then you have 18 and 17, which is going to be a new tool, which there'll be 2 kits for. And then you have the other new tool that actually got broke, the cover got broke on here, is the MG Austin Rover, depending on how you want to look at it, Metro 6R4 from 1986. Now, the 6R4, for anybody who doesn't know, is a completely and totally wacky Group B car that Austin Rover decided to put together based off of their Metro commuter car. It is a 6-cylinder, 4-wheel drive rally car. It was naturally aspirated. It's about 500 horsepower. It was not a particularly successful rally car because in 1986, that was the very end of Group B anyway. It was, it was raced quite a bit by privateers after that. But it's just, it's all body panels and diffusers and spoilers. Big, boxy, kind of hideously ugly car, but you needed all of that stuff to keep the car on the track. And ultimately, the fact that the cars kept leaving the track is why Group B died off in the first place, or was actually banned by the rally authorities, because there were so many fatal accidents, either with spectators when cars would go off the track, or with drivers and navigators themselves dying. And Group B only lasted from 1984 to really, honestly, the middle of 1986, because once there was a accident in 1986, beginning of the 1986 season, Audi pulled out, and that left Peugeot and Metro, or MG, and a couple other companies in it. But at that point, after that accident, they banned Group B for 1987, so it was already a dying breed at that point anyway, because it kept killing people. So the Metro perhaps was a never realized rally car. Maybe they could have made it better had Group B continued, or Group S started, because Group S was going to be replacing Group B eventually anyway, and then that whole thing got killed off, completely separate fiasco. But yeah, very interesting to see this. So this was a Group B rally car. I think there's a couple resin kits of it out there. I think Ray J did one way back when, and I think that if you were to question people and be like, "Hey, so what do you think? You think there's going to be a Metro 64R in your lifetime, or 6R4 rather?" And most people, no, that's too obscure a thing. But now, of course, Group B, all the things. That really leaves us at this point in Group B with the Ford RS200, which is a long forgotten car that just needs to be done anyway. It's just a cool car. And then the Peugeot 205. And a lot of people will be like, 205? Well, Tommy made one of those. Well, they made the Paris to Dakar Rally version, which is what those cars sort of morphed into after Group B died, because obviously you had this platform that existed. But they're not, technically speaking, the actual Group B rally car that existed during the 2 3 seasons that the series ran, and the Peugeots were actually the championship cars for a couple of those years in what was nominally World Rally Championship at the time. So we'll be interested to see if either one of these blocks of kits that are license pending are one or both of those, or somewhere along the lines we get something else out of BMAX maybe. The Ford RS200 is kind of one of those space frame full detail kits, and I'd kind of like to see BMAX do it, assuming the S4 works out, just because, you know, at least they're showing they can do that sort of thing. Belkits has never done a full detail kit at all. You know, BMAX has at least done 2 full detail F1 kits, so they have the ability to make a full detail kit. Yeah, they haven't done one on 124 scale as of yet, but it's just my thoughts on that. And then, like I said, BMAX was not to be outdone. They were like, oh no, you are not going to have all of the rally glory this week. So they dropped this on their Facebook page the next day. And what you're looking at here is a Peugeot 306 Maxi, which was a Group A rally car. Of course, Group B had died off in the very late 90s, early 2000s. Obviously, it is a famous car. There's an entire Peugeot section of the Peugeot rally book dedicated to this. So obviously you can do like a tarmac car with this, you can do a gravel car with this. And then the other thing the Peugeot 306 was released as a car known as the Peugeot 306 GTI. The GTI was a Group A touring car in the very late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of people don't remember this car. It's very hard to find pictures of it in, you know, touring spec. The rally car obviously much more better known or popular. But the 1999 and 2000 24 Hours of Spa were won by the Group A car, the touring car, and then the Danish Touring Car Championship and the Asian Car Touring Championship were also won by the Group A touring version. So that takes us to the kit releases this week. There are only 3. Again, a bunch of stuff is pending, so it may be a very busy couple of 2-3 days here. The end of July and beginning of August, but like I said, only 3 things in this actual week. So, taking a look at it, over at Aoshima, you got just a factory restock of the Bayside Blue pre-painted Nissan R34 Skyline GTR V-Spec 2 kit. Everything on these pre-paints, as we talk about this every time a pre-paint comes up, but just to remind people, and there's always new viewers, these are pre-painted from top to bottom, including the black around the windows, the black trim around the bottom of the front fascia, all that stuff. Everything is already painted for you. You just put it together. So other than seam lines and sprue attachment points, you're good to go on that. It's a good weekend build, especially if you can touch up the points. The other kit out of Aoshima is the modified reissue of the Liberty Walk, Liberty Works R35, nominally, 2017 GTR version 1.5. So there was a version 1.0, and then there's a version 1.5. Basically, this is the 1.0 car repainted with the, you know, well, technically it's not repaint because it's actually a 2017 GTR. But they call it the 1.5 because it has the majority of the 1.0, or version 1 rather, body styling and things like that. It just is on a new car. So in this kit itself, you're getting a new front fascia, new front splitter, new headlights, new hood, new rear taillights, and a new backup light. But beyond that, the majority of this kit is based on either the version 1 car or from the 2008 original tooling of this kit. Much like all of the other Liberty Walk GTRs, it does come with that right-hand, left-hand drive combination choice. I'm pretty sure there is not a version 1.5, technically speaking, that exists in the United States. There are some Liberty Walk 1.0 body kits in the United States I've seen pictures of, not seen in person, but seen pictures of. You can order the parts, in the United States and have them installed here. But other than that, the kit's pretty much the same thing as it was on the first time. And this one's just a white pearl 2017 version. So it has the same wheels. They're in the version 1.0 kit. Just sort of updating the kit a little bit into 2017 spec. I don't necessarily know that those updates could be put into a street car, though. It's like that whole front end. Now, the front splitter is separate piece, so perhaps it could be a street car, but we'll see. It's one of those things where it's kind of odd that Aoshima has never updated the street version of the GTR from 2015 to 2017. So maybe now the pieces exist, we'll see that come. Tokyo Hobby and Model Show coming up at the end of October, so we'll see what we get announced there. And then last but not least, we have one reissue from Hasegawa this week, and it is the Minolta livery Toyota 88C. You may recall they reissued an 87C just a couple of weeks ago, where you had to go in and put little pieces of plastic in to square off the rear wheel arches and things like that. This one is just the 88C. That's what the kit really is. The 87C was sort of a, making something out of whole cloth kind of deal. Tom's Toyota Minolta livery, very famous, would go on to exist pretty much in this format of being a blue and white car well into the early 1990s, really. Because after Group C and the Japanese sports car prototype series died, and you got into Japanese touring car and whatnot, it went on to the Supra, and then it went on to the, excuse me, it went on to the, I'm trying to think what the car is called now, the Corolla 11, the AE92 Corolla 11. It was also on the AE, what would be 86 Corolla, it's obviously, as well as the, I'm trying to think what they call it, the AE90 Corolla, I think is what it's called. It was like a 3-door hatchback. We know as a Corolla FX to people. That I expect to, at some point, come out of that Corolla 11 AE92 JTCC car, because the Corolla FX, in addition to being a JTCC car, was also a rally car. So I don't think that by any stretch of imagination that tooling is anywhere near being done. We've only gotten the one release off of it for the Minolta sponsored livery of that, but the Minolta livery on the Tom's Toyota, like I said, famous livery and ran for quite a while. The Gear Race Macau had that livery as well. So that, I guess, guys, covers this week. Like I said, not a whole heck of a lot of actual kits out, but we had quite a bit of, like I said, teaser things where we're seeing the future a little bit. It's getting towards that time of the year where we start talking about the fall new tools and things like that out of Japan. I know a lot of people would like to talk about like Revell, but nothing to discuss there. I had a comment a week or two ago on the Revell This Changes Everything video that I did, of course. It was like, this is a nice salad, but when can we get to the main course? And it's like, I understand what you're saying, backhanded compliment that was, but there isn't anything to talk about. I mean, if you want to talk about Habaco itself, everything is sold. Habaco's Chapter 11 was converted into Chapter 7. It's a straight-up liquidation at this point, and there's really nothing left. I mean, they're selling pallet racking, they're selling spare parts, they're selling, just random pieces of warehouse equipment and things like that. It's gone. Habaco doesn't exist anymore, and its component pieces are where they are. The RC stuff went to Horizon, the plastic model stuff went to Blitz, and Estes went back to Estes nominally. So, I mean, whatever, all the warehouse stuff is gone, the inventory is gone, the racking, the inventory was gone, the machinery to move the stuff, like they sold the forklifts and everything. It is a fire sale at this point of just random pieces, parts, and equipment to whoever buys liquidated warehouse stuff. So, if you live in Illinois, watch out for those places that sell like industrial auctions. We have a couple of them here. I get them on my Facebook feed all the time for some reason when they sell all the pallets racking out of a warehouse at auction. So that's probably what's going to happen to it, because somebody bought the pallet racking for $50,000 and it's bolted into the floor, and most people don't like to actually do that. They'll just try to sell it where it stands and somebody else move it. But well, I'm confident in the fact that you're going to have to wait until the end of the year or so before you hear anything out of Blitz in terms of what they're going to do with Revell itself, unless they decide just out of the blue to be all like, "Hey, here's our big plans," because we talked about it last week. Revell of Germany kit modified reissue came out, so. Revell of Germany itself is focused on getting those two 1/16 scale Porsche 356s out, and not so much on, the American tooling that they have. So that, guys, wraps it up for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a great weekend. Here in Pennsylvania, it was quite lovely, actually, after several days of humidity and pop-up storms. It was like 70 degrees on Saturday. It was barely 80 on Sunday. Low humidity. Lovely weekend, especially for late July, where we usually we're in the triple H of hazy, hot, and humid. Hey, yay, global warming. So we'll see you guys on the other side.